Welcome to the Fast Leader Podcast, where we explore convenient yet effective shortcuts that will help you get ahead and move forward faster by becoming a better leader. And now, here's your host, customer and employee engagement expert, and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, Jim Rimbaugh.
Call Center Coach develops and unites the next generation of call center leaders. Through our e-learning and community, individuals gain knowledge and skills in the 6 core competencies that is the blueprint that develops high-performing call center leaders. Successful supervisors do not just happen. So go to callcentercoach.com to learn more about enrollment and download your copy of the Supervisor Success Path ebook now. Okay, Fast Leaders, and today I'm excited because we have somebody on the show today who's going to give us a new meaning to CSR. It's not just customer service representative. Alessandra Cavalluzzi was born in the borough of the Bronx in New York. She grew up in Astoria, Queens until the age of 14 when her family moved to Long Island, where she still lives today. Alessandra is an only child, but has a very large extended Italian-American family. She is first-generation American with parents and grandparents having been born in Italy in a small town named Grumo in Italia's Puglia region. Alessandra speaks Italian fluently and is proud of her Italian-American roots. Alessandra says that she's always drawn to charitable causes and helping others. She credits her mother and maternal grandmother with her passion for community service, as they were always putting the needs of others before their own. Alessandra recalls many times as a child hearing her mother, Jane, say that you should perform random acts of kindness and lend a hand to those who need it most. Her grandmother, Angelina, was a devout Roman Catholic who, Alessandra said, attended Mass every single week and would spend most of her days reciting the Rosary. One of Alessandra's fondest memories of her grandmother was a day when she came upon her reciting her prayers. She says she asked her grandmother why she was always praying because it seemed to her that she was never without her rosary beads. And her grandmother replied, "I'm not praying for myself, I'm praying for our family." When Alessandra asked why, her grandmother responded, "I know how busy everyone is with work and life, and that you may not have time to pray, so I'm doing it for you." Alessandra's grandmother, Angelina, passed away in 93, but her selfless example has stayed with her since that day. Over the years, Alessandra has held a number of different roles in various corporations. She's worked for law firms, insurance companies, financial institutions, and equipment distributors. She's held positions in human resources, marketing, and project management, to name a few. She's managed large teams and given countless presentations. Through it all, one thing has remained a constant: the desire to give back and the need to make a difference. In fact, that desire was so strong in her that Alessandra helped her company develop a program to help the communities around us that now is in its 13th year. Today, when she's not writing books, she works at her day job as Director of Community Relations for MSC Industrial Supply on Long Island. Alessandra says that her goal is to inspire companies to action in supporting the communities where her employees live and work. She wants to provide you with information, tips, and examples to help you create a program that enables your company to take an active role in creating positive change in your community. All companies have the power to make a social impact. No effort is too small. Alessandra shares her Long Island home with her furry baby, a Pomeranian, named Elvis. Alessandra Cavalluzzi, are you ready to help us get over the hump?
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Now, I've given my Legion a little bit about you, but can you share what your current passion is so that we can get to know you even better?
My passion is centered around helping others to be better, to do better. And so when it comes especially to the community, it's inspiring others to just do something. Everyone can do something to help give back and to make the world a better place. That's really where my passion is and why I love my work and what I do every day, because it's so perfectly aligned with what I've believed my entire life.
Well, and in your book, $1 million in Change, which I need to ask you how that title came about. And we'll get to that in a second. But you had mentioned something in the actual closing of the book in the afterword. And so for me, I'm a little backwards, being a left-hander. A lot of times I go right to left in books. And so I look at the back, because oftentimes it kind of pulls a lot of things together that you'll find within the book. And in there, you say that many small and mid-sized companies are dissuaded from starting giving programs and getting involved in their community because they incorrectly assume that they don't have enough money and or resources to make a meaningful impact. And then also in the front of the book, you talk about really the sheer number of small businesses that are out there and how many of them really just don't give.
Yeah, and that's really where the title of the book comes from, too. So it is something that I've come across because in my work, a lot of what I do involves also speaking at events. And so whether it's an HR event or it's a business event or a nonprofit event, I've spoken on the topic of corporate social responsibility and how companies can motivate and engage their employees to give back. And afterward, people will come up to me and say, I would love to do this in my company, but we're a small company and we don't really have a budget. And so I don't know how much can we really do having such limited resources. And my point is, it's not the size of the budget that you have or how many resources you have. It's what you do, how you leverage those resources. And everyone can do something. And to your point, the number of businesses that are out there, if everyone just did one thing, to help in the community, imagine the impact we could have. And that's also the message that comes from our nonprofit partners. A lot of times they'll say to me, if we could just get the companies that are on the sidelines to understand that we just need them to do something. And that, again, if you take that, every company that's out there, if everyone just did something, whether it's volunteerism or doing a fundraising drive or whatever the case may be, the impact is huge. When you stop to really think about it, you really can make an impact.
So I guess for me, as you're listening to you talk, I start recalling something that I had as part of a conversation with my pastor. I'm Methodist, and we were talking about, really one of the threats that he sees, to the church, and he said that it was apathy. Because I'm not worried about people, preaching and touting and shaking the Bible, or those that aren't following the Bible but yet are still. He goes, I'm worried about the apathetic ones. So are you really talking about that these organizations are in an apathetic stage, or really just an ignorance on how to actually move forward stage?
I think it's just misconception because a lot of the times they're comparing themselves to larger corporations. So there's this idea out there that if you're not spending millions of dollars, which is going back to the title of the book, if you're not spending $1 million, a certain amount of money, you're not doing it right. Or if you're not doing something huge, like you'll see sometimes a Walmart or another really big company that's out, in creating a clean water irrigation system in a third world country, or helping on that level, or having huge missionary groups in another country. And the small company is looking at that and saying, well, if that's the right way to do it and to be considered really making an impact, then I really can't do that because I don't have the resources or the funds. So is it really worth it? How much of a change can I make? And each one of us as individuals can make a change. And sometimes even we ourselves have that sometimes, right? You say like, well, if I speak up or if I do this, I'm just one person. How much of a change can I make? And the point is that you don't need millions of dollars. Every effort makes a difference. And so there's no wrong way to give, and no effort is too small. So I think it's really, a lot of it is that people just have that misconception that they need more, that they don't have enough at their disposal when they really do.
I guess in chapter 1, you were kind of trying to address that. And you talked about the myths, the misconceptions, and the misunderstandings. And you listed 3 major myths. And one of them being is that CSR, and by the way, I think you said it, it's, corporate social responsibility program. And so when you start talking about CSR, you'll say that CSR is a nice to have, but it's not a need to have, but you're saying that's a myth.
Yes, it is, because a lot of people think that it doesn't impact core execution. And the fact of the matter is that it does, because when you're engaging first of all, it's a big driver of engagement. And a lot of companies say, well, how can I get my people more engaged? And there are studies that show that employees are looking to do more than just contribute to a company's bottom line, especially with the new generation, millennials, and also Generation Z that's coming behind them. They look for opportunities to really make an impact and make a difference. They like to support causes, and they want to have a hands-on ability to do so. So when going to work, they want to know that even their own skills, that they can put them to use in a way that's helping to benefit others. And so when you talk about skills-based volunteering or service learning, that's a perfect way for an employee to put their skills to good use that goes beyond making the company money. And so that does translate then to higher productivity, because engaged employees are more productive, they're more emotionally connected to the company, they want to see the company do well. And so it does help in that sense. And so, that's where that's the myth of it's a nice to have, but it's not a need to have. It actually does help with your company's core execution in the end.
Well, and I think, you being in the role that you're in, you probably hear it more than anybody, but, the war for talent is real. And really where it gets into, as far as that war is concerned, is in the skilled talent area. Mm-hmm. And so when you start thinking about CSR programs, and I'm looking for that skilled talent, it ends up being both an attractor of mm-hmm. talent and also a retainer of talent.
Yes, absolutely. And, we hear it from our talent acquisition team when people come in for interviews. They will mention, I was on your website and I looked and I saw one of the things that attracted me to your company was just how everyone looks so happy and they're spirited and they're giving spirit on your community page. They mention it. So people do look at that because it speaks a lot to the culture. If you have a purpose-driven culture, people are more engaged, and that attracts people, especially, as we were saying, the generation that's coming now, the new, if you think about by 2020, they're saying there'll be more than 50% of the workforce and more is going to be millennials. So it really is important that we keep that in mind. And this is something that they find very important.
And that particular statistic that you just, recited is also, for me, it's even more impactful when you take that out to 2030. So mm-hmm. there's going to be like a huge fall off, on the older generation, finally just can't continue to stay in the workforce because they're in their 80s, right? Mm-hmm. And so like by 2030, that number is going to be like 75%. I mean, it's just massive.
Yes. So it becomes even more important. And the public, so one of the other myths is the return on investment. People say, well, there's really no return on investment because it's an intangible. You can't really measure it. How do you know you're making an impact? And you can see it through customer loyalty. There are surveys that are done of consumers that say that they're willing to pay a few extra dollars to buy from a company that they see is socially responsible, that is out there trying to make a difference in the community. So that does impact. So from a recruitment standpoint, retention of employees that feel that, they're proud to work for the company, so they want to stay there. From a customer loyalty and a branding, visibility and reputation, it's very, very important. It's going to become even more important in years to come because population, looks at that. They care for that.
And another myth that you actually talk about is that there's no tangible return on investment. I think you just talked about that and the mm-hmm. association with workplace giving and programs. So that was another myth that you actually just answered. Now, the third myth is that you need to invest a lot of money in a workplace giving program in order to be able to do it right. And that's a myth.
Yes. So when we started the program at my company, I literally had zero budget. I had no dollars. This was something that it was an idea that I proposed. We were always a charitable company, but there was no program or a structure around it. And so we had to really make a case for why this was important and why we should be doing it as a company. And you need to do more than just bring in statistics and reports. You kind of have to talk to your people and figure out what's important to them. And so having a lot of conversations with peers and colleagues and also other leaders in the company and saying, is this something that you feel is important to you? But then trying things out. And so you can test certain things. And that's why I say you don't need to spend $1 million in order to make the same amount of impact. Doing something like volunteering is a low-cost way to get your employees involved and to see where their passion is, doing something like a clothing drive or a food drive. It engages your population of employees. At the same time, you're helping a nonprofit, you're helping people in the community. So again, skills-based volunteering. Nonprofits have a need for talent to help them basically to run a lot of parts of their organizations that they can't afford to go out and hire people for. So consultants, web developers, help with financial planning and strategy building. There's a number of departments and companies that I just named right off the bat, finance, IT, all of these different areas, marketing, that can lend their skills and talents to a nonprofit that saves them so much money, and it's so valuable. And think about the impact that you're making. You're still making an impact. At the same time, it's a low cost to your company. You're not spending millions of dollars, and it's a great way for you to start a program. And then based on the results and the feedback that you get, then you build from there, and then you have a case to go to your leadership and say, hey, this is really resonating with our employees. I think we should need to take this to the next step and now invest some actual dollars in building this. And that's basically what I did and how I laid it out in the book. And so in a nutshell.
You're right. I mean, it is how you laid it out in the book. So, I mean, where you have 10 chapters in the book, and you talk about, we hit on those myths and those misconceptions and misunderstandings. You talk about, shouting it out, essentially being, the person who's going to start with me, right? You talk about strategy and building a strategy and how that's important. And then the funding component. And then if you don't get it, what do you do? And charting a course or creating a charter for your course, getting engaged, engaging others and starting to build that community, that groundswell, and making it stick, so that it's not, something that, oh, well, we just tried it once and it failed again. And then you talk about seeing double nonprofits and the old double standard. Well, what is that about?
So I felt it very important to include in the book a chapter on nonprofits and what they basically are up against, which is the double standard. And what that is that for-profit companies are expected to invest in getting the top talent, in putting their money into their marketing and being successful and pulling a profit in. And they're able to, and they're actually expected to spend a tremendous amount of money in order to make that happen. Wall Street expects you to do well. You have to do whatever you need to do in order to be successful. When it comes to nonprofits, that doesn't exist. The opposite exists. If a nonprofit company invests in hiring their top talent to run their organization or in a marketing plan, it's actually frowned upon and looked upon negatively, because we're expecting them to put every dollar they raise into their mission and into their purpose, what they're trying to achieve. So whether it's, finding a cure for a disease or helping the poor or the homeless. And the idea, what behind that chapter is that that's really an unrealistic way to look at it, because they're not going to be able to be successful if they don't have skilled people running their organizations. And so until we get over that, and until we start to understand that nonprofits are in the business of helping people, so, we can't expect them to do well and hold them accountable for achieving their mission if we're not helping them to be successful and allowing them to invest, then that's where companies can help by lending their time and their talent to helping nonprofits do that in the meantime, until we're able to raise more awareness on it.
Yeah, and there was an awesome TED Talk that was done by Dan Pallotta on this particular issue. I mean, and I'm going to put a link to it on your show notes page, because it's just that. He talks about this double standard issue and how he actually had raised literally millions of dollars for some causes, but yet was lambasted, in the media about the fact that they were investing so much in order to be able to create and generate that kind of income, or I guess you'd say charitable donations. And it's really a societal problem. We're not going to fix big problems if this double standard continues to exist. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. But the great thing is that because of that talk, some of the large charity rating organizations actually changed the way that they looked at nonprofits, and they actually sent, and it was GuideStar and Charity Navigator actually sent letters to all of their subscribers saying, hey, we're changing our rating system and we want you to take a look at this differently, a little bit differently. It doesn't, don't just go by the ratio of how much money they raise versus how much they're investing in their programs, because there is a need for them to invest in things like marketing and hiring the top talent. So it was nice to see that, but still there's a lot more work to be done on that front. So the more awareness we can raise about that, the better. And that's why I felt it's so important to include that in the book.
Okay, so what we're talking about here is just riddled with emotion. I mean, I think you and I can go on about this for a very long time, and I appreciate you. But, one of the things that we look at on the show are quotes to help guide us and give us some focus and passion. And is there a quote or two that you like that you can share?
One of my favorites is from Lao Tzu, and it's great acts are made up of small deeds. And I really, really love it. And I actually even included it in the front of the book because it just perfectly sums up everything that I believe in and what I'm passionate about, is that you don't need fanfare. It doesn't have to be a huge, grandiose type of action. Every act of kindness that you perform has an impact, whether it's on a single person or a group of people. So that for me is my all-time favorite quote.
I definitely hear your grandmother's influence in that as well.
Yeah, she was an amazing person. She really was. I mean, to think that she was praying for the family every single day and had her rosary beads in her hands all day long. And it wasn't for herself, it was for others. And that really stayed with me. It stays with me to this day.
Well, I suspect that, start talking about this journey and getting to the point where you are now and writing the book and all of that, and is that there were humps that you had to get over. And so is there a time where you can think that you had to get over the hump and you can share that story with us?
So I remember this one time we had an event that we thought was just going to be fantastic, and we were going to have a huge turnout. Our associates were going to love it. And what happened was the turnout was not at all near what we thought it was going to be. Pretty disappointing at best. And the feedback was that the event just didn't resonate with people. And, of course, when you put it together, you're so close to it that the first thought is, well, I can't believe it. This was such a great idea. Why didn't it work? But I think for me, it was taking a step back, taking myself out of it and taking any emotion out of it and saying, okay, well, obviously this didn't resonate with people. Let's find out why. And it's talking to people and finding out what is important, taking that feedback and then incorporating it into future events so that they are successful. And that's really what it comes down to. With anything we do in life, it's really looking at it from the perspective of the other people and really listening to what they have to say and taking that feedback and incorporating it into future efforts.
I think that's a really important point. So it wasn't a situation where you didn't, delay or cause pause or put things on hold. For you looked at it as a learning opportunity.
Absolutely. It's a learning opportunity, and it's an opportunity to correct a course and to understand that nothing is ever set in stone. Things will change. And so you have to sort of adapt and change and evolve. And that's how you grow and your program grows and how you grow yourself as a leader as well. You have to always be open to feedback and to changing things.
Okay, so this is interesting then. So then based on all of the things that you've been doing for the many years and even coaching and talking to others and all that, can you kind of see a certain type of theme or a certain, activity or something like that seems to be, one of the most popular? So if I'm sitting here trying to say, okay, I would like to get some things going and don't want to have that fall on my face, situation getting out of the gates, maybe I look in this particular area because it seems to be a path where a lot of people can resonate with it.
I would say volunteerism, getting people actually out, hands-on, helping in the community. That's where we get the most success. Other types of events, sure, fundraisers, they respond to that, but volunteerism is where they're the most passionate. And I think, and I don't think it's company-specific, industry-specific, or any particular area, whether it's children's causes or working with veterans or the senior citizens. I don't think it matters. People just want to be out there because they feel like they personally are actually making a difference. They can see it because it's in real time. They see the people that they're helping. And so it's a lot more impactful.
When I start thinking about going to this path and knowing where you are today and knowing that, we're talking about a journey, this thing's going to last for a very long time for us to change some of these mindsets and get more people engaged and to squash these myths. I start thinking about a lot of goals that you potentially have. But when you can think about one goal that's important, what is it?
My goal is to reach as many people as possible with this message and inspire as many people as possible to actually go out and take action. And whether that's you personally becoming more involved in your community or starting a conversation at your company or even within your neighborhood with your neighbors, your friends, it's just getting the message out and helping as many people as possible.
And the Fast Leader Legion wishes you the very best. Now, before we move on, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. An Even Better Place to Work is an easy-to-use solution that gives you a continuous diagnostic on employee engagement along with integrated activities that will improve employee engagement and leadership skills in everyone. Using this award-winning solution is guaranteed to create motivated, productive, and loyal employees who have great work relationships with their colleagues and your customers. To learn more about An Even Better Place to Work, visit beyondmorale.com/better. All right, here we go, Fast Leader Legion. It's time for the Hump Day Hoedown. Okay, Alessandra, the Hump Day Hoedown is the part of our show where you give us good insights fast. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and your job is to give us robust, yet rapid responses that are going to help us move onward and upward faster. Alessandra Cavalluzzi, are you ready to hoedown?
Yes.
All right. So what do you think is holding you back from being an even better leader today?
I think one of the areas I could be really better at is active listening. I'm good at listening, but I think I could be a better listener.
What is the best leadership advice you have ever received?
the best leadership advice that I've ever received was never take anything personally.
What is one of your secrets that you believe contributes to your success?
I'm a people person. I love being around people.
What do you feel is one of your best tools that helps you lead in business or life?
I think one of the best tools that I have is the ability to see or put myself in other people's shoes.
What would be one book that you'd recommend to our listeners? It could be from any genre. Of course, we'll put a link to $1 Million in Change on your show notes page as well.
One of my favorite books that I've read is actually from Deepak Chopra and Rudy Tanzi, and it's called Super Brain. It's a fantastic book.
Okay, Fast Leader Legion, you can find links to that and other bonus information from today's show by going to fastleader.net/Alessandra Cavalluzzi. That's Cavalluzzi. Okay, Alessandra, this is my last Hump Day Hoedown question. Imagine you were given the opportunity to go back to the age of 25. You've been given the opportunity to take the knowledge and skills that you have now back with you, but you can't take everything back. You can only choose one. So what skill or piece of knowledge would you take back with you, and why?
I would take back the knowledge that everybody is on their own journey and that you need to respect that and that, just love the journey.
Alessandra, it was an honor to spend time with you today. Can you please share with the Fast Leader Legion how they can connect with you?
They can connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn if they'd like to connect with me there. I'm on Twitter, A Cavalluzzi on Twitter, and also on Facebook, $1 Million in Change. I'm happy to connect with everyone, however they'd like to reach out on social media.
Alessandra Cavalluzzi, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. The Fast Leader Legion honors you and thanks you for helping us get over the hump. Thank you for joining me on the Fast Leader Show today. For recaps, links from every show, special offers, and access to download and subscribe, if you haven't already, head on over to fastleader.net so we can help you move onward and upward faster.